Hi, everyone. Have you ever had someone get revenge on you? It's not fun, right? Well, this is my story about revenge, but with a twist. You won't believe who my prankster turned out to be. Oh, let me introduce myself. I'm Audrey, and I'm 24. To say I've had an unhappy life would be an understatement. Firstly, my dad ditched my mom for another woman. And not long after that, my mom passed away from a serious illness. Basically, my entire life fell apart in a matter of months, and I was still too young at that time. It was tough growing up, and I always think that my life could never turn the page again. But on one fine day, someone popped into my life and changed everything. His name was Jim, and he was 7 years older than me, and he seriously turned my life around. He lived in another city, but he often came to my city on business trips. We fell for each other quickly. That happiness didn't last long, though. One day I was working in the clothes store when a girl around the same age as me came in. She wanted my help to choose some dress, but she was pretty rude to me, and I kept catching her staring at me with evil eyes. Who was she? And why was she treating me like that? Finally, after about 2 hours, she made up her mind and picked up only a tie that she wanted to buy for her husband instead. I was relieved to get rid of her, but shocked when I saw the name on her credit card. Jim Stewart. Her husband had the exact same name as my boyfriend. What a coincidence. She must have caught me staring at the card because she suddenly said, "Yes, Jim is my husband. Now stay away from him." What? Her husband? My Jim. Before I even had a chance to react, she turned to everyone in the store and said, "This girl is a gold digger, and she's trying to break up my marriage." I was shocked. I tried to explain that it wasn't true, but she wouldn't listen to me. She just stormed out, and I was left standing there hearing people whispering about me. It was the most humiliating moment of my life. I immediately ran to the staff room and called Jim. I was really hoping it had all been a big misunderstanding, but I could tell from Jim's tone that it was the truth. He told me he'd lied to me, and that he actually lived in the same city. He just made up the business trip stuff so he wouldn't have to see me often. Then he said, "Audrey, I honestly love you. I'm serious about us." Hang on, was he for real? It was ridiculous. I was disgusted by him. How could he treat me like that? I hung up and felt horrified. It brought back horrible memories of the woman who stole my dad away from my mom. I didn't want to be that woman. The next day, I moved out of the house Jim had rented for me. I didn't want to be associated with that loser anymore. But life works in mysterious ways. The day I moved into my new house, I saw Jim's wife. And you won't believe it. It seemed that she'd just moved in next door too. Was this some kind of joke? As soon as she saw me, she smirked and said, "Wow, what a coincidence. Hello, neighbor. I'm Linda." Seeing her unpacking her stuff all by herself, I couldn't help but wonder where Jim was. But then I thought maybe Linda had ended things with him and had moved here alone. I hope so anyways. I'd hate to have Jim as a neighbor. So that's when my new life began. And it has been crazy ever since. From that first week of living there, Linda started pranking me. It all began with her throwing trash into my yard. I even caught her doing it, and she just grinned and said, "Oops, my hand slipped." Then she walked away laughing. It made me furious. And that was just the beginning. One weekend, a delivery guy rocked up on my porch with 10 extra large pizzas. I tried to explain I hadn't ordered them, and that's when Linda appeared at my door and said, "Oh, thanks for ordering me dinner, Audrey. I'm starving." Then she grabbed 5 of the pizzas and ran to her house, leaving me there with a bill of $100. Jeez, it was so annoying, and I had no option but to pay. Linda was too much. Seriously. As much as her pranks drove me up the wall, I also felt sorry for her. I knew what it was like to have someone you love stolen away from you. She must have hated me so much for ruining her marriage, even though it hadn't been my fault. I decided to just put up with her pranks. She'd get over it eventually, and it's not like they were harming me, right? Well, one night I heard the doorbell. I wasn't expecting anyone and was surprised to see a young guy standing there with a poster that said, "I agree to be your boyfriend. Come out with me." I was totally puzzled and told him he had the wrong house, but then he showed me the address on the other side. It was my address. What on earth? I told him I wasn't interested, but he tried to grab my hand and said, "Come on, girl, don't be shy." I told him if he didn't leave me alone, I'd call the police. So luckily he ran away. Needless to ask, I knew for sure that was Linda's joke. But this time she had taken it too far. I decided to go over and have a word with her once and for all. As I was walking to her house, I saw someone familiar on the other side of the road. I couldn't believe it. It was my dad? So many years had passed, and he'd completely changed, but there was no doubt it was him. I suddenly blurted out, "Dad?" But I didn't know what to do next. I was just thinking about my next move when I felt someone behind me. I turned around and saw Linda. She just smirked at me and walked away. What was her problem? Did she hear what I just said? I was so shocked at seeing my dad, I ran back into my house. I hated him for what he'd done to my mom. But he was still my dad, and I wanted to know if he was okay and what he was doing here. I barely slept that night as I couldn't stop thinking about my dad. The next morning, I was sitting by the window when he appeared again. This time, he was with Linda, and she was holding his arm. What was she doing with my dad? Why were they so close? Later that day, I saw him again, and this time, he and Linda were hugging. OMG, were they dating? Maybe Linda had heard me call him dad, and now she was flirting with him to truly get revenge on me. This was too much. The thought of Linda as a stepmom made me want to puke. I waited and waited, but he was inside her house and there was no sign of him leaving. Eventually he left, and as soon as he was in his car, I ran over to her house. I was shaking as I knocked on the door, and as Linda opened it, I said, "You are way too much. Can you just stop with the revenge already?" Linda looked confused and said, "What the heck are you talking about?" Linda still didn't seem to get it, and I was about to explain when I heard footsteps. I turned around and my dad was right there. He said, "What's the matter, Linda? Why are you fighting with this stranger?" Huh? Stranger? Didn't he recognize me? Then Linda butted in and said, "It's okay, Dad. We're just having a misunderstanding here." What? Dad? Is he your dad? Really? I stammered. "Yeah, why? What's the matter?" She said, "Linda, you don't need to lie to me. I know you're dating my dad to get revenge on me," I continued. "Whoa, hold on. What do you mean your dad?" Linda gasped. At that, my dad looked confused too, and walked to me and asked if he could look at my hand. After seeing my birthmark, he started crying and hugging me. "Audrey, it's you. It's really you." I didn't know how to react, so I just let him hug me. It had been so long since anyone had held me like this. Ever since my mom had died, I'd tried to be strong and keep it together, but suddenly I couldn't hold back anymore. I burst into tears in his arms. We stood like that for a long time, and eventually he took me into Linda's house and told me the story. It turned out, after he left me and my mom, he got tricked by that woman, and he was so ashamed, he decided to move to another city and start over. He was working hard on a construction site one day when he got injured, so he ended up in hospital. And that's when he met Linda. She'd been in a car accident and needed a blood transfusion urgently. She has a pretty rare blood type, but luckily my dad had the same type and he volunteered to give her a transfusion. After that, they became quite close, and seeing as Linda had lost both her parents in the car accident, my dad eventually adopted her. I couldn't believe it. My dad had been through so much, and this whole time, I thought he was off living his life with a rich woman. I felt so bad for him and decided to leave the past behind and forgive him. As for Linda, she was also left confused by this coincidence, so she left the room to process everything, while I and Dad took time to catch up on our lives. Later, Linda prepared dinner for us three, and before we digged in, she shyly grabbed my hand and said, "Audrey, I've been so awful to you. I'm sorry. I know you aren't the one responsible for my divorce, but I still felt upset, and that's why I played all those pranks. That was so childish, right? Please forgive me, sister." We laughed it off, then hugged each other to make peace. I couldn't believe it. After all these years of being lonely, suddenly I had a sister, and my dad was back. My life had finally turned a corner, and I almost laughed at the thought that it was all because of meeting Jim. At least one good thing had come out of that disastrous relationship.
Would you ever let yourself become so wrapped up in hatred that you change your entire life to get revenge on someone? Well, that's exactly what I did, and it didn't exactly go to plan. I'm Clara, and I'm 25 years old. It all started 5 years ago when my boyfriend Jason went to study abroad in France. We were so in love at that time, and it wasn't easy being apart, but we coped surprisingly well. Jason even promised me we'd get married when he got back, but after a few short months of him being away, he started growing distant. He no longer called me every day, and he barely even replied to my texts. I thought maybe he was just too busy and stressful to deal with his new life while struggling with missing me. So I decided to do something wild and fly to Paris to surprise him on his upcoming birthday. I hadn't really thought about it. I just excitedly got on the flight and taken a taxi to his apartment. But, well, the moment I saw him walking into the lobby, I instantly regretted it. There Jason was, but he wasn't alone. He was hugging and kissing some other girl, and she even went upstairs with him. I felt my blood boil, and I wanted to scream, but instead, I just left. I was so upset, but I was also angry. How could he betray me like that? Going a long way just to see my boyfriend betraying me right in front of my eyes was a bad thing, and I didn't think life could get any worse. But I was wrong. Things were about to get much worse. After leaving his place, I booked myself into a nearby hostel and cried myself to sleep. The next moment, I was waking up to a burning smell. Oh God, the hostel was on fire! I was lucky to make it out of there alive, but I was badly burned and left with a huge scar on my face. There I was, heartbroken and burnt to a crisp in a foreign country where I knew no one and didn't speak the language. I'd never been so lonely and ugly in my life. As I looked in the mirror, all I felt was anger and resentment towards Jason. He destroyed my life, and at all costs, I would make him pay for it. After I'd recovered, I got on the plane and flew back to the USA. That's when I started plotting my revenge. I had a few things up my sleeve, but first things first. Plastic surgery. So, as soon as I graduated, I got myself a full face rework. I even changed my name, moved to a new apartment, and lived with a new identity. My life was miserable enough, so now all I wanted was to start all over again. And it worked. After the surgery, I turned into a completely different person, just like I'd wanted. And what's more, I was even more beautiful than before the accident. I felt incredible and couldn't wait to start living again. Of course, I had to work my ass off to pay off my plastic surgery, but it was worth it, wasn't it? More than that, that was also how I tried my best to build a career for myself. Jason would regret cheating on me for the rest of his life, that's for sure. And as planned, after 3 years of working hard, I eventually got promoted to a management position in the construction company I worked for, and became a beautiful, successful woman that many people admired. At the same time, a few of my friends mentioned that Jason had finally returned from Paris and was now working for a big architectural firm. I almost laughed when I heard the company's name. That was our new partner company. Oh, things were about to get fun. My friends also told me that he'd brought his French girlfriend back to the USA with him and that they were getting married soon. What? He was about to get married? They seemed so happy together, huh? No wonder that for all these years, he hadn't tried to contact me once. After I caught him cheating, I just disappeared. I could have been dead for all he knew. But he didn't seem to care. This made me hate him even more. There was no way a traitor could live happily like that. I couldn't wait any longer. It was time to put my plan into action. So I told my boss I'd work on the project with Jason's firm. At least this way, I'd have an excuse to approach him. At that first meeting, I made sure I looked as beautiful as possible and waited with bated breath. Of course, Jason didn't recognize me. And well, would you believe it? He kept looking at me and flirting with me. I found it hilarious and so kept flirting back. And eventually he got the hint and asked me out. What a jerk! Now I understood why I was abandoned in the past. Even when he already had his fiancée, he could still flirt leisurely with others. His poor fiancée! I kept playing along, and even made plans to befriend his fiancée, Valerie. I knew she hung out in a certain cafe, so one day I went there and accidentally bumped into her, dropping water all over her gorgeous outfit. I kept apologizing and told her I'd pay to get it dry cleaned, and eventually we started chatting and hit it off. We exchanged numbers, and I asked if she'd like to go shopping sometime, which she agreed to. This was way too easy. A few days later, we went shopping, and it didn't take long before she started confiding in me about how lonely she was, and that other than her boyfriend, she didn't know anyone here. I smiled sweetly and told her I'd happily be her best friend. At the same time, Jason and I were dating. I pretended to fall for him, even though inside I was furious at him. I even told him I'd share some confidential work documents with him if he pampered me and treated me like a princess. He seemed totally in love with me and spent all his spare time taking me out to dinner and buying me expensive gifts. It seemed like he was no longer interested in Valerie. Obviously, Valerie came to me and told me that she was very sad because the wedding was coming soon, but her fiancé was just cold and acting weird. On the one hand, I comforted and encouraged her, but on the other hand, I seduced Jason and took most of his money. He'd even put my name on the house contract, so technically, I owned his place. You know, I wanted Jason to feel the pain of being betrayed by the person he trusted. Then one day, Valerie called me in tears and said she suspected her boyfriend was seeing someone else. I asked her what her boyfriend's name was and where he worked, and said she didn't need to worry. I'd help her find out. A few days later, I sent Valerie a few photos of him cheating with me, but obviously, I hid my face. However, it was just enough evidence to make her suffer. Then I told Valerie that it looked like her boyfriend was working with this other girl on a project, and that Valerie could get her revenge by destroying the project. That way, he wouldn't be able to work with this other girl anymore. Valerie totally fell for it. It was insane. The very next day, I heard from my colleagues that Jason's crazy fiancée had destroyed the final layout for the design of the two companies' project. She spilled water on his laptop and threw it onto the ground. While the deadline was coming, it was too late to start it over. Apparently, Jason's boss was fuming and fired him immediately. This contract was worth millions of dollars, and he'd just ruined everything. I had to give it to Valerie. She didn't even think about it. That's how dumb she was. Served Jason right. Finally, karma had come and bitten him in the ass. That evening, I went over to their house. Jason now has no job, no money, and he was about to lose his fiancée and his house, too. I knocked on the door, and when Valerie opened it, she was shocked to see me, but not as shocked as she was about to become. Jason saw me and looked like he was going to pass out. "Surprise!" I said. "Hi, Jason." At this, Valerie looked confused and said, "Wait, do you two know each other?" I just laughed and said, "We sure do, Valerie. In fact, I'm the other woman who he is cheating on you with. And that's not all. I'm actually Jason's ex." Then I turned to Jason. "That's right, Jason. It's me, Clara. Valerie, when he came to Paris, he was dating me, and then he cheated on me with you, so I've been getting my sweet revenge." Both of them looked completely stunned, and instead of shouting at me, they started fighting with each other. Valerie was screaming. "How could you?" Jason shouted back. "You're crazy! If you hadn't ruined my laptop, things wouldn't have been like this." "Oh, really? If you hadn't cheated on me, I wouldn't have done that," Valerie said, while bursting out crying. Pretty soon, she found out that the house belonged to me now, and all of his money, and that's when all hell broke loose. I just stood there, admiring how great my revenge had played out. Eventually, they broke up with each other, and I decided to kick them out of the house. So my cherished revenge plan for the past few years has been successful. However, there was just one problem. The price I paid for it wasn't small. When I showed up at work the next day, everyone was whispering about me, saying the project I'd been working on had been a complete failure, and that it was all because I seduced the guy from our partner firm, even when he was about to marry his fiancée. It was a disaster. My reputation was ruined. I couldn't handle everyone being against me, so I resigned. I decided to spend some time at home for a while, trying to clear my head. I didn't get it. I'd spent years plotting my revenge, and now that it had finally been a success, why did I feel so bad? I'd been so caught up in ruining Jason's life, I hadn't thought how it would affect my life too. I'd been delusional. Above all, the joy and satiety of watching the two of them move out of the house was just temporary, and what remained after that was just a feeling of emptiness. What had I been doing? I was just ruining people's lives, especially with Valerie. She was so innocent in all of this. How could I have been so cruel? Then one day, as I was walking down the street, I saw her at the bus stop, and she looked so sad and thin, and it tormented me. That poor girl didn't deserve this. I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. I had to apologize, so I raced across the street. But by the time I got there, the bus had come, and she had gone. I decided to call her instead. I asked if we could talk, and at first, she refused. But once I said sorry and told her how terrible I felt about everything, she agreed to meet me. I was holding the keys to her old house, and as she walked towards me, I handed them over. She was surprised, but then I started to explain. Valerie, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. It's just that Jason broke my heart, and for years, all I thought about was destroying his life the way he destroyed mine. I didn't realize you were so sweet, and now I see how awful I was to you. You don't deserve any of this. You trusted me, and I completely betrayed you. At first, Valerie didn't say anything. Then she started shouting at me, saying she'd thought of me as her best friend, and that she felt so pathetic for trusting me. At this point, I burst into tears. I was a monster. The minute I started crying, something changed in Valerie. She hugged me. I couldn't believe it. After everything I'd done to her, she still wanted to hug me. We were there hugging and crying, and yep, finally something good had come out of all this mess. I had a friend, and very quickly, this friend will become my best friend for sure. You guys, honestly, I don't recommend wasting your time on revenge. I threw away so many years of my life obsessing over hurting Jason, and in the end, it just hurt me and poor innocent Valerie. From my own experience, I just want to tell you that always be the bigger person and live for yourself, not for others. Hey, it's Jessica. From the outside, my life seemed perfect. My family is wealthy, I'm beautiful, shining bright, and even my job is fancy. But from the inside, I do have a character flaw. It's my short temper that almost caused me to lose everything. I've always been Daddy's little princess, which means that anything I want, I have to get, such as new clothes, a new car, and exotic vacations. Because of this, other girls have always been jealous of me. But Kath was different. She realized there's so much more to me than my designer outfits and glossy hair. Kathy's family lived nearby. You see, my dad was friends with Kath's father, who passed away when she was little. But being the nice guy my dad is, he continued to support them. He paid for Kath's education, so we went to the same school. She was the only friend who could handle my short temper. I know, that wasn't nice, but it was hard dealing with the average girl's jealousy toward me. As a result, there were a few incidents. One time, when I was just a primary student, some girl dared to put on my shirt after sports. She said it was an accident, but as if. I yelled at her that she'd stretched it, and now she owed me a new one. Kath tried to defuse the situation, but she just got caught up in the middle of the shouting match. Literally, as me and this girl were screaming insults at each other across Kath. Then another time, some kids sat in my seat in the canteen, and when I asked them to move, they refused to. I was fuming, so I poured my custard all over them. Seeing as the kids were about to get crazy, Kath passed them a napkin, hurriedly apologized to them, then led me out of there before I covered them in more of my lunch. She understood how mad I got on things, but never got annoyed at me about it. This is why our friendship continued into adulthood. It was perfect to have a friend like Kath to grow up with. But what made my life even more perfect was the arrival of our boy next door. Yes! A new family had just moved in, and my mom told me that a cute boy my age was going around meeting people. I ran out to suss it out and find Kath standing on her front porch and talking to a super cute guy. I swished out my hair and tottered over to them. "Hi, Kath." I smiled at her. Then I turned to him and said, "Hi there. We definitely haven't met before, 'cause there's no way I'd forget you." He smiled back and introduced himself as Andrew and said he lived on that block. I sat down on the couch in Kath's house and did my research on Andrew and found out he was a pretty famous influencer. His dad ran off with another woman and started a new family, so Andrew lives with his mom and Nan. And best of all, he was single. I pulled on Kath's arm and insisted that she help me bag Andrew as my man. She looked a little awkward at first, but then she reluctantly agreed to help. I persuaded Kath to pretend that she lost her phone, then I went round to Andrew's and begged him to come and help us look for it. He spent the whole afternoon trying to help us look for it, only to hear it buzzing in my pocket. Oops. Then one time, well, this wasn't planned, but I managed to get one of my new heels stuck in a drain cover. I was standing there yelling at it when Andrew walked past and told me to take my shoe off. I refused. Did he have any idea how expensive they were? He just laughed and told me to lean on him while he carefully unwedged my shoe. Whose heart wouldn't melt for this gentle guy? After that, we started to talk more, and then chatted every day. He had a sense of humor and was very gentle toward me. It is so wonderful to know that he was impressed by how cute I was, hiding Kat's phone in my pocket to find a chance to make friends. How embarrassing, but seemed like he liked that. After 2 months, he asked me out on a date, and soon we became an official couple. I loved being around his family, as his mom and grandma were so sweet and friendly. Then my dad said he needed me to go on a 3-month business trip in San Diego. I didn't want to leave Andrew for so long, but there was nothing I could do about it. Ugh, being an adult sucked sometimes. I just had to pack up and take a flight to San Diego, then finish the job as quickly as possible. Little did I know how terrible things could happen in the next 3 months. One night, my mom called me up. She was furious, and at first, I couldn't work out what she was saying. Finally, she calmed down enough for me to make her words out. "Jess, I found the DNA test hidden away in one of your father's filing cabinets. Kath is his biological daughter. This whole time, he's been lying to us. I cannot put up with this. I'm divorcing him, and I won't be happy until he's left with nothing." What? Kath was my sister? No, it couldn't be. I called up Kath to get to the bottom of this. As soon as she picked up, I screamed at her. "Your dad's my dad. How could you keep this a secret? You're trash, and so's your mom. You're both vile, ugly gold diggers, and I hate you both." Kath spluttered out. What? Huh? I don't understand." "You heard me. You're trash, and so's your mom. She's nothing more than a man-eating, money-obsessed liar, and I hate her." Sobbing, Kath replied, "Don't talk about my mom like that." This only made me angrier, so I yelled, "I will say what I want to. I hate you, and I hate her. I hope you both fall down a pothole and never get out." Suddenly, I heard a voice say in the background, "Who are you talking to? And why are you so upset?" I knew that voice. It was Andrew's. Why was he with Kath? I was about to scream out at her to stay away from my man, but she hung up. I immediately tried calling Andrew, but he didn't answer. I was so angry I screamed out, then went into the kitchen and started smashing glasses onto the floor and swiping things out of the cupboards. The next day, Andrew called me. I thought he was going to try and worm his way out of what he did, so I answered with a, "Oh, hi, Andrew. It's nice to finally hear from you." He replied, "Hi, Jess. Look, I have something important to tell you. It's my grandma. She's in the hospital, and I can't afford the medical bills. I hate asking, but please, could I borrow some money?" Furious, I yelled, "Who do you think you are? You did the dirty behind my back, and now you have the cheek to ask for my help? It's none of my business, dude." He fell silent, then hung up. At first, I was fuming. How dare he do that to me? But once I had time to calm down, I thought maybe I had overreacted a tiny bit. I mean, I could have given him a chance to explain, so I tried calling him again, but he didn't answer. I called Kath, and in my calmest voice, I asked her to tell me what was going on. She said she had no idea that my dad was also her real dad, and it was a lot for her to process. Then she said that she was only around at Andrew's last night because his grandma had a fever, and she was trying to help. But then her fever worsened, so she was taken to the hospital. I felt pretty bad about it all, so I tried calling Andrew again to sort all this mess out. But he'd blocked my number. I transferred him some money over towards his grandma's expenses, but he sent it straight back to me. It was so hard being so far away from Andrew and not being able to go and talk things through with him. I missed him like crazy. Because of this, I confided in Kath loads, and she kept me in the loop about how Andrew's grandma was. Apparently, she wasn't well at all. Then, one day, she came up with an idea to help. She told me to send money to her account, and she'd give it to Andrew, and tell him it was from her. Then, when his grandma was better, she'd tell Andrew the truth about where the money came from, and he was sure to realize how much I cared for him and forgive me. I thought this was a great idea, so I sent Kath the money. Then things got weird. She went super quiet and then stopped talking to me altogether. Then 2 months later, through social media, I found out that Andrew was getting married to Kath. What? After having a screaming frenzy, I calmed down enough to book a flight home. I took an Uber to Andrew's house and pounded on his door. He answered, and on seeing me, he slammed the door in my face. I wasn't leaving until he spoke to me, so I sat on his doorstep. It was only when it started to rain that he eventually opened the door, and in a gruff tone said, "Okay, you have 2 minutes. Then I want you off my property for good." Look, I know you're mad, and I'm sorry, but why are you ignoring me? I tried to make amends for what I did. I sent you the money. I know. I sent it straight back, remember? He grunted. Not that money. The money that Kath gave to you and said was from me. What? That money was from her, not you. You're jealous. You found out I was marrying her, and you're here to ruin our lives. No, I'm not. Please, it was me. I wanted to help. I pleaded, but he tutted, then slammed the door again. I stood there, a soggy mess, and his words sunk in. Kath had lied to Andrew about the money. Why would she do that? Furious, I stormed around to her house and was about to press the buzzer down until she answered when the door opened, and I saw Kath stepping out with Andrew's mom. I jumped out of sight and listened. Andrew's mom was thanking her for all her help and saying how much she couldn't wait for her to be her daughter-in-law. What? As soon as his mom walked off, I jumped out of hiding and confronted Kath. You're a liar! Kath was surprised seeing me, but then she just shrugged and said, whatever, then walked toward her door. He's my man now, not yours, she added, looking back at me. You traitor! I screamed at her as I charged towards her. We got into a fight, and there was a lot of hair pulling. Finally, Kath managed to get through her entrance door and lock me out. She grinned at me through the window, so I shouted at her, Kath, you just wait! You won't get away with this! A few days passed, and their wedding day arrived. It was in some super swanky golf resort. I tried sneaking in through the entrance, but 2 guards stopped me. Ugh! Kath must have pre-warned them about me. So I had to find another way in, which involved climbing through a tiny gap in the hedge. A bodycon dress wasn't my best choice, and I had twigs in my hair and grass stains all over me. Still, out of breath, I showed up at the aisle and waved the evidence of bank statements and messages between me and Kath in Andrew's face, and shouted, Look! This is all the proof you need to show that I sent the money to Kath to help your grandma, and she's a filthy liar! Andrew looked shocked, but he took the evidence from me. No, she's making it up! Kath's eyes widened in alarm as she tried to grab the evidence out of Andrew's hands. Seeing her reaction, he pulled it away from her and looked through it. his face falling when he discovered the truth. "How could you lie to me about this?" He stared at her. "You told me that Jess cut all contact with you." Teary-eyed, Kath glared at me and said, "You get everything. The nice clothes and the lavish lifestyle, yet you act like a spoiled brat. I was sick of hiding in your shadow and defending you for all your childish outbursts. I liked Andrew from the beginning, but no, you had to have him." Through gritted teeth, Andrew told her, "It's over, Kath. I never want to see you ever again." After that, she rushed up the aisle in a frenzy of white fabric and sobs. Geez, talk about making an exit. That was 3 months ago, and a lot has changed since then. My dad eventually managed to persuade Mum to forgive him, although he had to buy her a new car and take her on a month-long island getaway. Also, she insisted that she never wanted to see Kath or her mom ever again, so Dad arranged for them to move to another city. This worked for me, as I never wanted to see Kath again either. I know I have a short temper, and I overreact sometimes, but I honestly believed that Kath was my friend. It hurt knowing that she didn't care about me at all. She just wanted my life. As for Andrew and me, now we're back together, and there's no way I'm letting my short temper cause me to lose him again. All of this could have been avoided if I hadn't let my anger blindside me. I should have trusted him from the start and heard him out. So now, if I feel anger overtaking my thoughts, I will go and pace the yard first to calm down. I may look like a crazy person, but it works a treat.
In part 1 of my story, I met my doppelganger, Tracy, who just so happened to be from a super wealthy, royal blood kind of family. We made a deal where I became her stunt double to stand in for her at boring royal parties, so she could freely be with the love of her life that her family didn't approve of. It's just like a part-time job, which helped me earn some extra money to pursue my dream of being a singer. But then one time, Tracy came over and asked me to move into her mansion and play this princess act for an entire month while she's off to Asia with her boyfriend. That would need some serious thinking. How was I supposed to keep this up 24/7? I could already see myself getting so busted. Sensing my hesitation, Tracy pleaded again. "Please, I'll give you whatever you want. This would mean so much for me and Arnold. You can do it, Kathy. We believe in you." She looked at me with those big puppy eyes. Oh no, what to do? At that exact moment, my mother walked out from the kitchen and said, "You've been doing a great job so far, sweetie. I'm sure you'll pull it off this time too. Don't worry, it'll be fine." Well, I couldn't say no now, so I gave Tracy a nod, which made her scream with happiness. "Yay! You've made my day! Tomorrow, 3 p.m., I'll be waiting for you." Then she grinned at my mother. "Thank you, Mrs. Mill." And so I moved in the next day. It was just me and Tracy's dad lived in this marvelous mansion. Yeah, as well as their butler and some dozens of housekeepers. You get the picture. Luckily, Tracy's dad was rarely home, so I basically had the place to myself. It was bliss. I didn't have to lift a finger. If I wanted a glass of wine, I just rang the bell and a glass would be waiting before I even put the bell down. One day, I felt like Mexican food, and they actually flew one of the top Mexican chefs in just to make me a burrito. I could seriously get used to this whole royal blood thing. However, there were a few moments where I totally messed up. One time, Tracy's dad had a day off, so we ate dinner together. I was so nervous that I totally forgot that Tracy was left-handed, and her dad noticed right away. "Sweet pea, since when are you eating with your right hand?" I stammered, trying to make something up. I've recently seen some research saying I should start using my right hand to train the left side of my brain too. Just experimenting, Dad." Oof, that was close. But it didn't stop there. Doris, the housekeeper, came into my room one day and joked, "Tracy, when did you become so tidy? If I didn't know better, I'd say you had been replaced by a secret twin sister or something." I totally froze, trying not to let Doris know that she had just hit the nail on the head. I laughed it off. "Oh, Doris, don't be so silly. It's me. Check my birthmark." I was kind of bored and just thought I could clean it up a little bit. But it's even more boring. Ugh. "It's all yours now." I passed her my unfolded blanket and swiftly left the room. Each close call like that reminded me to be more careful. But other than that, my new life was full of wonderful things. Especially when I had Thomas by my side. At first I tried to act as cold as possible towards him, just like how Tracy would normally treat this fiancé of hers. But tell me, how am I supposed to ignore such a perfect man? He often came to visit me or took me to places. He always gave me all these butterflies with his charm and elegant gestures, and it wasn't long before I realized I had feelings for him. I just couldn't help it. He made me so happy. One night, instead of having some fancy 8-course dinner date, I suggested we try something more casual. So we went bowling and grabbed some burgers. We had so much fun, and at one point, he took my hand and said, "Thank you for opening your heart to me and giving me a chance to be your man," as he put a soda can ring on my finger. Come on, who wouldn't melt to that? And when he dropped me home, he leaned over to kiss me. Oh my God! My heart was thumping in my chest as I got out of the car. Then he said, "Good night, my darling Tracy." Suddenly, reality came crashing down. I had been delusional. It was Tracy that Thomas loved, not me, not poor old Kathy. But it's too late now. I'd been so carried away with my own feelings that I didn't realize how my behaviors towards Thomas had been taken as a green light. Both families were super stoked that Tracy finally showed some positive signals towards this relationship, and they started planning the wedding right away. The date was set for 2 weeks later. Then the plan was for us to move to Singapore for Thomas's work. I was so shocked at how fast everything was moving. This was a disaster. I called Tracy and told her everything. She also freaked out and told me to stay calm and just wait for her. She'd get back before the wedding day to stop it. Well, the wedding day was fast approaching, and there was still no sign of Tracy. I was really panicking now. And the worst part was that I couldn't get a hold of her. Her phone was off. I didn't know what to do. I cried to my mom over the phone, so she tried to calm me down. "Honey, I think if you leave now, you'll mess everything up. If Tracy's family finds out, you'll both be in trouble. Hang on a bit more. I'm sure she'll be back and everything will be okay." "But that means I have to go through with the wedding and then move to Singapore with him. I can't do that, Mom." "Why not, sweetie? I know you love him, and so far no one has spotted a difference between the two of you. Just keep pretending for now, okay?" So that's what I did. I kept pretending. While everyone prepared for the wedding of the year, I paced back and forth waiting for Tracy to get back. One day I was out in the garden trying to ease my mind when someone approached me. He looked so familiar, and I wondered if it was Arnold, Tracy's boyfriend. But what was he doing here? He asked me to follow him so that no one would see us. And then he seemed angry and said, "Tracy, why didn't you tell me you were back? I was so worried when you disappeared like that." "Huh? Wasn't Tracy supposed to be with him?" "Arnold, calm down. I'm not Tracy. I'm Kathy." "But Tracy has disappeared? I haven't been able to contact her either, and I've been worried sick." "Oh, hey, Kathy. Gosh, you two are identical." Arnold looked disappointed. "Anyway, we came back a few days ago, and she wanted to swing by your mum's place to give us some presents. Then I haven't seen her since." "That's weird. My mum would have mentioned if she swung by." "Yeah, I've asked her, but she hadn't seen Tracy either." "Kathy, we need to find her." So I immediately canceled my wedding dress fitting and went with Arnold to my house. "Hey, Mom, it's me." I called out, but there was no answer. We searched the house, but couldn't find her anywhere. Then, as we passed my room, I could hear someone inside, and the door was locked. That was so odd. So I rushed to get the spare key to open it and got the fright of my life. Tracy was sitting on my bed. I almost screamed. "What are you doing here?" Tracy looked as shocked to see us as we were to see her. "I don't know why your mom locked me in here, but don't worry. She didn't hurt me. I'm being fed well and I have Netflix, so it's not all bad." No way. My mom would never do such things. She was the sweetest woman, and this was so out of character. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. It was my mom. I screamed. "Mom, could you please explain? What's going on here?" She looked at me and stammered. I just planned to keep her here for a few days, just until you married Thomas and flown to Singapore with him." "Are you insane? Do you want me to steal her life?" "No, sweetie, it's not stealing. It should have been your life. I mean, why didn't he recognize his own daughter?" At this, she burst into tears and fell to the floor. Arnold rushed over and helped her up and said, "What do you mean, his own daughter?" And that's when my mom told me that Tracy is actually my half-sister. What? So Tracy's dad was my dad too? Turns out, when my mom had fallen pregnant with me, Tracy's dad's family hadn't approved because my mom was just a normal person. So they'd paid her to move to another city and stay away from Dad. But what's even worse is that my dad didn't even try and look for us after that. In fact, a few months later, he'd already married Tracy's mom, who came from a rich family. Both Tracy and I stood there completely shocked. No wonder we looked so similar. "So, you're my sister?" I gasped, staring at Tracy with wide eyes. "Really? Dad did that? What a selfish, arrogant man! I'm ashamed to even be related to him. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. The truth needs to be told." "No, Tracy, wait. Don't do that," my mom yelled. "Sorry, but I have to. I can't play this game anymore. I have a plan." At that, Tracy walked off and Arnold ran after her. Here we go, I thought. And eventually, the wedding day of Thomas and Tracy rolled around. Me, my mom, and Arnold showed up in disguise. When the vicar asked them both to say "I do," Thomas said it immediately. But Tracy paused. The whole church held their breath waiting for her "I do," but it never came. Instead, she said, "I can't do this, Thomas. I'm sorry." That's when Arnold appeared, and Tracy ran towards him and held his hand. "This man, he is the true love of my life." Of course, Tracy's dad was furious. He got up from his seat and yelled in front of everyone, "What on earth is going on?" And that's the moment when I felt so proud of Tracy. She said, "I don't love Thomas, Dad, and he deserves to be with someone who truly loves him back. That's what marriage is about, right? It should be based on love, not status or money. And anyway, I don't want to hurt someone the way you did." "What are you talking about? Who did I hurt?" He looked stunned. My mom, Kathy's mom, and Kathy herself, too." Tracy pointed over at me and my mom. Everyone in the church gasped as they looked from Tracy to me and back again. We really were identical. He looked like he was going to faint when he saw my mom. And then with a shaking hand, he pointed to me and said, "And who is this?" My mom walked towards him and said, "This is Kathy, your daughter, the one you abandoned." Wow, I didn't think my mom had it in her. Honestly, the tension in the air was crazy. People started whispering and shuffling in their seats. That was when Thomas said, "So, which one of you is Tracy?" I decided this was my moment to speak up. "I'm not Tracy. I'm Kathy. I've been taking her place during the past month. I'm so sorry for lying to you this whole time." I couldn't even look him in the eyes as I put in his hand the soda ring that meant so much to me. Thomas looked disappointed and marched off. I ran after, trying to stop him, but he didn't care. Only when I tripped and fell to the ground, he turned around to say, "Why would you do this? Giving me false hope? And for what? Honestly, it would have been better if you'd treated me the way Tracy the Ice Queen does." "I'm sorry, Thomas. I didn't want to hurt you. My feelings for you are real." I started to cry. "You're so selfish, Tracy. Oh no, wait. I mean, Kathy." Then he walked off. In the end, the wedding was obviously cancelled. Tracy's dad, or should I say, our dad, had no choice but to accept Tracy and Arnold's relationship. I was so happy for her. Dad, of course, also apologized to me and Mum, and even offered me to come and live with them. But I refused. I wasn't about to leave my mom. However, I did accept his offer to pay for my vocal training. At least I could live this dream of mine. Because I doubted I could make my other dream come true. My dream to see Thomas again. I was heartbroken. Still, I had to get on with life. Maybe I'd meet someone else. Pretty soon, it was time to graduate from my first semester of vocal training, and I was going to have my first ever solo performance to an audience. I was so nervous, but I sang with all my heart, and afterwards, as I left the theater, someone ran up to me with a giant bouquet of flowers. Unbelievable! It was Thomas! I burst into tears and he said, "Hi, Kathy. I'm Thomas. Nice to meet you." That put the widest smile on my face. I then ran into his arms saying, "It feels so good to hear you call me by my real name." "Yes, I'm Kathy. I know we just met, but will you be my boyfriend?" And you guessed it. The rest is now history. We're currently planning our wedding. For real this time. And I've honestly never been happier.
"I want to meet Mr. Garcia. It's important," I told the receptionist. She looked at me confused and said, "Sorry, but no one under that name works here." "What? But he's the company director." The receptionist gave me this bewildered look, then firmly said, "I'm sorry, but no one under that name works in this company. Maybe you've got the wrong building." "Fine. If she wouldn't help me, then I'd find him myself." "Miss, wait! You're not authorized to go there!" Unfortunately, I didn't get very far before 2 guards raced over and pulled me away. As I tried struggling free, I yelled out, "This is ridiculous! I'm your director's girlfriend!" Suddenly, a smart-looking man appeared in front of me and calmly said, "Madam, are you looking for Austin Garcia?" "Yes," I nodded. The man sighed, then continued, "Austin did work here, but I fired him months ago. I have no place for someone with such lazy, carefree attitude in my company." I stared at this man open-mouthed. Oh no. So he was the director, not Austin. So, my boyfriend had been lying to me from the start? When the guards led me out of the building, I saw people gawping at me, and I overheard one of them say, "Oh my God, another gullible girl got scammed?" This couldn't be happening to me. Austin was my super successful, rich and handsome boyfriend. There must have been some mistake. He couldn't possibly have scammed me. Could he? I was showing my housemate Sarah the amazing designer bag Austin bought me when he walked into the room and slouched onto the couch. Okay, so what was with his glum look? "Babe, it's just that my company has this big project on. I invested $100,000 already, with a 5 times return expected by the end of the year." Wow, what a huge project. I felt so proud to have such a perfect boyfriend. But then he lowered his voice. "Yeah, looks like I'm gonna have to bail on it." I widened my eyes and asked, "Why? What's up?" "I need to contribute another $50,000 by the end of the week, but I'm still $10,000 short." I blurted out, "I can help." He shook his head. "Babe, I can't expect you to do that. Besides, where would you find that amount of money from at such short notice?" "I'll borrow it from my friends or something.
don't you believe your girlfriend can do it?" I winked at him. He kissed my forehead and then with a huge smile on his face, told me I was the best girlfriend ever. After I counted up my savings and student loan, I was still a few thousand short. So I told a couple of my friends that my parents had been in an accident and I needed money urgently to pay for their hospital fees. I know lying was lame, but I'd pay them back soon, so what would it matter, right? But then a week after I'd given Austin the money, he showed up at my house looking completely bummed out. He told me he'd met an unexpected problem and now he needed another $15,000, else he'd lose everything. I wanted to help him, but I had no one left to borrow money from. I thought he'd be understanding, but instead he just said, "You can borrow money from a loan shark. Then in a month, we can pay it back." I gave him a confused look and asked him why he didn't get the loan himself. He stroked my hair and in a soothing voice said, "I would if I could, Hannah, but you're a student, so your interest rates will be much lower than mine." That made sense. Plus, we were going to be together forever anyway. So what did it matter who took the loan out? So that same day, I borrowed the rest of the money from a loan shark and handed it over to Austin. "Hannah!" a voice shouted, which startled me from my thoughts. "Hannah, give me back my money. I need it urgently." My friend Rachel glared at me. I felt so flustered as I blurted out, "Soon. A few days, I promise." She rolled her eyes at me. "Yeah, whatever. Poof! I thought you had a rich boyfriend, right? Why don't you ask him to help you out?" I forced a smile and repeatedly told her I'd pay her back soon. This was so embarrassing, and now my friend hated me. Ugh! It was all that jerk Austin's fault. The truth was that as soon as I handed him the money, well, he disappeared. His online accounts, number, everything. All gone. I even found out that the house he claimed to be his was actually just some Airbnb rental. Oh, and the designer bag he bought me? Fake! The next day, I was walking to my lecture when I heard two girls talking to each other. Hannah owes people loads of money, but won't pay it back. Isn't she always boasting about having a boyfriend? I lowered my head and hurried past them. This was so humiliating. I needed to figure out a way of finding that jerk Austin and making him give me my money back. Oh, who could that be? Maybe it was Austin with a perfectly reasonable explanation for everything. I ran to the door and opened it. Oh, it's just some strange girl. "Where is Austin? Tell him to come out here now!" she yelled. "And you are?" "His victim! He tricked me into giving him all of my savings!" She pushed past me and stormed inside. "Austin, stop hiding from me and come out!" I pulled the girl's arm and asked, "Hold up, he also tricked you?" She looked at me with wide eyes. Oh gosh, Austin's such a pro scammer! After that, we sat down and she explained everything. Turns out she's called Leah, and Austin scammed her out of $50,000. OMG, that was so much money! Austin is a real jerk. Suddenly, my housemate Sarah and her boyfriend Weston walked in. "Hey, look! I won this Tales of Suspense Volume 39 in the horse race bet the other day. You know, it's super rare." Weston was so excited showing Sarah his new precious comic book, while I forced a smile at them both, then quickly dragged Leah up to my room. There's no way I wanted Sarah knowing that I'd been scammed. Entering my room, Leah suddenly said, "Hey, do you want your money back?" I nodded. "Of course I do, but now I don't even know where he is." She gave me this sly smile as she told me how Austin adored the Marvel Universe, and that comic Weston had could be used to lure him in. So we went downstairs, waited for Sarah to go into the other room, then we asked Weston for his help. At first he refused, but then we offered to split the money with him 3 ways. Eventually Weston agreed, and so, game on! Starting off, Weston posted it on a comic book marketplace for half the price it was worth. Only $150,000? Unsurprisingly, it wasn't long before that snake Austin slithered into his messages. Great! We arrived at the meeting spot super early and hid behind a bush. 30 minutes later, and Austin still hadn't shown up, and I had a dead arm. Ouch! I whispered to Leah, "Do you think our plan was leaked?" She grabbed my shoulder and shushed me. Austin had arrived. He took ages to check the book, really carefully. When they finished the exchange, I jumped out of the bush and shouted, "Austin, there you are! Where's my money?" His eyes widened in terror, and he quickly tried to run off the other way, but Leah jumped out in front of him. She sneered and rolled up her sleeves, stepping towards him. "There is nowhere for you to run, jerk!" Austin was terrified and stepped back. Then I ran up behind him and snatched the comic out of his hand. "Girls, look! He turned pale and immediately turned and hurried away. He even lost a shoe en route, but he didn't dare to stop to pick it up. It was so hilarious watching him hobble off. Thank you so much, Leah. It felt so good to get revenge. Anytime. We clinked our glasses together. Girl power and all. Ugh, my head hurts so bad. Where's Leah? I guess she must have gone home. I went over to my closet. Where's the backpack with my money in it? I frantically turned my room upside down looking for it. Could it be? I called Leah, but there was no answer. That was it. Leah and Austin were definitely the same. Why did I have to be such a gullible idiot? There was a loud banging on the door, so I opened it. 2 huge guys were standing there.
"Hey, beautiful. Pay us back soon, or else."
Then they left. I freaked out, not knowing what to do. Find Leah and Austin? It's futile. I know it. So I started working like crazy. I delivered newspapers and milk in the mornings, then waitressed most evenings. I was so exhausted, but I had to find a way to pay off my debt before I drowned in it. Then one morning, Sarah came downstairs to find me asleep, face down on my piece of toast. She gently shook me awake, then told me she'd got me a paid intern job at her uncle's hospital. Yay! Thanks, Sarah! You're the best! The first day at my new job went well, so I decided to reward myself with a bagel and hot chocolate in the canteen. That's when I walked straight past her. Leah! She spotted me too and ran off, but I chased her into a dead end. "Where's my money?" "I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry," she sobbed out. Then she told me how the night that we'd been celebrating, she'd received some bad news. Her brother was in an accident and needed emergency surgery. Panicked, she took the money for his hospital bills. Are you tricking me? This is 100% true. She wiped at her tears. Maybe I felt a little bit sorry for her. But no, what she did wasn't cool. Besides, she could be lying to me. I mean, I did also use the ill relative's excuse to get money off my friends. So I dragged her to reception to check. Turns out she's telling the truth. Her brother is in a coma and the bills are obviously very expensive. What Leah did sucks, but she's all her brother has. So I guess I can kinda understand why she did that. So it looks like I've got to continue working my butt off for now. That weekend, I was about to leave for work when I opened the door to see those thugs back again. They shoved past me and started picking up valuables. I shouted at them to stop and that I'd get their money to them soon, but they didn't listen to me. Then they picked up Sarah's laptop. Oh no! Right at that moment, Leah showed up and demanded they stop right now. Then she proceeded to pay them what I owed them. Huh? What? How did she have the money? Well, it turns out Leah's brother woke up from his coma. They talked, and she found out his specific research had just won first prize in a nationwide competition. So he gave her the prize money and told her to pay off my debt. I was so ecstatic. I flung my arms around her and kept on saying thank you. Now I was debt-free. Phew! I could finally pay my friends back and put all of this behind me. Huh? What was that? We both looked outside. Isn't that Austin? But why does he look so frazzled? Oh, turns out 5 angry-looking girls are chasing after him. I looked at Leah, then we both burst out laughing. And that, guys, is karma.
A lot of kids don't like Mondays, but I do. The start of a new week is full of so many possibilities. And, oh my days, who is she? Whoa, she's beautiful. She is the prettiest girl I've ever seen. She must be new here because I definitely haven't seen her around here before. I'm Evan, and as you can see, I'm kinda short and skinny. I might not be a muscly jock or anything, but I do have a big brain. I'm top of the class in math, sciences, geography, and soy el mejor de la clase en español. I'm proud of my collection of trophies and awards, and as a result, lots of kids in school know who I am. But I don't really like talking to new people. For such a smart guy, I find small talk awkward. It's like the words freeze in my head or something. Anyway, this is the main reason why I've been single for, well, forever. It doesn't matter. I need to focus on my studies anyway. But I do like girls, especially petite girly girls who need me to protect them. Being the smart guy I am, it didn't take me long to find out that the new girl is called Kayla. Kayla. What a sweet name. After a few days of looking through her social media accounts, I'd fallen deep for her. I wanted to tell her how I felt, but I'm just too shy and awkward. So I asked my best friend Liam for advice. Bro, what are you so scared of? You're the #1 guy in this school. Yeah, but only with books. Liam nudged me and said, Only? Dude, it's a big deal being that smart. Girls absolutely love it. You're a bright-looking guy and a top student. Just need to add a little bit of confidence, my friend. I was not sure about that, but what do I know? And Liam is good with girls, so I had to trust him. In fact, I am smart, and I should be proud of it and use it to my advantage. So what should I do to make a move? Now you need to prepare her a gift and surprise her with it in the canteen. Girls love romantic gestures like that. What kind of gift? Don't sweat it. Just get her something you think she'll like. The next day at recess, I carried a box to the canteen. I spotted her sitting with her friends. Oh boy, this was terrifying, but also kind of exciting. As I walked over to her, I noticed how pretty she looked today. Suddenly, she stood up and went to the food stall. Okay, so she was taller than I thought. Yeah, she's quite a bit taller than I thought. Oh no, she's a giant in comparison to me. Abort mission, abort! I turned around and started to walk off when I accidentally bumped into someone and dropped my box. All of my trophies and awards scattered across the floor, along with the love letter I'd written for Kayla. My eyes locked on it, and I was about to leap forward and grab it, but the girl picked it up. Then in a really loud voice said, Oh, look! Evan has a crush on Kayla! Who knew a nerd could have such high standards? Or should I say, tall standards? Then everyone burst out laughing. Oh boy, this was embarrassing, so I hurried out of there. Liam, who had been waiting for me outside, stopped me as soon as I passed the door. Dude, what was that? Are you really giving her those as a gift? He snatched the box out of my hand and took a look inside. Well, you said to get her what she liked. And you also said girls like smart guys, so don't these show off enough of my charm? No, not like that. I just expected you to get her a teddy bear or some flowers. Evan, this ain't it. So this was it. My life was over. I'll be a laughingstock forever. I'll have to convince my parents to let me move schools. No, to let me move planets. Huh? It's from Kayla. What? She says she likes me too. Is this thing broken or something? Wow, she says she's heard a lot about me and she admires my achievements. And she wants to hang out sometime. Not long after that, we started dating. She's such a fun girl to be around. But there's one thing bugging me. She's so tall, and standing next to her constantly reminds me that I am so short. It never really bothered me before, but it does when I'm around her. People have always said I'm small-framed, but being next to her makes me feel like I'm a hobbit or something. I decided to bulk up, so I started going to the gym, but it was so hot and sweaty in there, it made me feel sick, so I gave up. I was born this way anyway. There's nothing I can do about it. Meanwhile, Kayla didn't seem to bother that I was smaller than her, and being seen in public with me didn't faze her at all. But I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable. So after class, when she was waiting for me by the door to go to lunch together, I muttered out some excuse about needing the library, and I'd meet her there in a bit. I know it sounds bad, but I didn't want to hang out with her at school, as I didn't want the other kids gawping at us and making fun of our height difference. I've been in here all lunchtime. I don't want to see Kayla. Oh no, there she is. Phew, she's gone. Oh, why do they put these things so high up? Here, let me. I turned to see it was Kayla. Then she easily grabbed the book and passed it to me. Startled, I peered around to check no one had seen this and spotted two girls giggling and whispering to each other. This was so humiliating. It was bad enough that Kayla was bigger than me, but she was a sporty girl, so she was also stronger than me. One lunchtime, I was struggling to open my bottle of Coke. Suddenly, Kayla appeared, grabbed it off me, and even though I muttered out I wanted to do it, she ignored me and opened it with ease. Then, one night while I was studying, Liam texted me telling me to go check my Insta. There was a picture of me sitting on Kayla's lap in the school garden. What? And then beneath it were loads of comments such as, "Whoa, little baby Evan with She-Hulk Kayla." And one of my friends even said, "Clearly Evan's the wife and Kayla's the husband." No, this couldn't be happening. That afternoon in the school garden, I'd asked Kayla to check my back for an insect bite. But before I could stop her, she'd pulled me onto her lap to check. But some jerk had taken a photo and posted it online saying, "Little Evan is sitting on the lap of his Hulk girlfriend." I was furious, especially with my friend's comment. I mentioned it to Kayla, but she just shrugged and told me they were only messing about and it was no big deal. After that, I didn't want to be around Kayla so much. She just made me feel so small, and I hated being laughed at by the other kids. A few days later, I was running in PE class when I tripped over my own feet and fell so hard onto the ground that I almost fainted. I lay there seeing stars and feeling like an idiot when a load of kids gathered around me. Kayla was also in the sports hall having her training lesson, so she ran over to me and ordered everyone to give me space. Then she bent down and lifted me up in her arms and carried me across the room. This was mortifying. So with the last bit of my energy, I shouted, "Put me down! I'm not a baby!" "Oh, okay. I'm just trying to help you." "I don't need your help. It's embarrassing. It's like you're the man in our relationship. You make me feel inferior." Everyone was gawping at us and whispering. Then Kayla put me down and walked off in silence. She looked upset, and I felt kinda bad. That night, Kayla messaged me asking to meet me in the park. When I got there, she was already waiting for me on a bench. I sat down next to her and said, "Look, Kayla, I'm sorry about before. I was just..." "Stop. I want us to stop. You care too much about what other people think. So what if I'm taller and bigger than you? Who cares? You've never been small or weak in my eyes." I was speechless, and she continued, "You just don't value or appreciate me. I know you avoid me at school. I don't want a boyfriend who's embarrassed to be seen with me. I deserve better than that. So it's over, Evan." Then she stood up and walked off. I watched her go, and even though I wanted to run after her and beg her to forgive me, I didn't. I just sat there all alone, feeling like a fool. That night I thought about it a lot. I knew she was right. I've been a jerk, and now I'd lost my amazing, funny, beautiful girlfriend. I shouldn't have let other people's opinions affect me so much because, on reflection, they were irrelevant. I liked her, and she made me happy. So what if she could reach books that I couldn't? Thinking about it, she was actually really helpful to have around. A few days later, I texted Kayla to apologize and asked her for another chance, but she didn't reply. So I arrived at her doorstep with flowers in a box. Kayla opened the door and frowned at me. "I'm an idiot. A great, big, small idiot. But I really like you, Kayla, and I want everyone to know it. I really like Kayla!" Please give me another chance, as I'm miserable without you. She stayed silent for a sec, but it felt like an eternity to me. I felt like I could faint until she spoke up. Yes, she smiled at me. I'll give you another chance, but don't mess it up this time. I leaped into her arms and hugged her. Yeah, she was holding me in the air, but I didn't care. I was just so happy she was my girlfriend again. After that, I passed her the box, which was full. No, not of my trophies and awards, but tubs of strawberry ice cream, her favorite flavor. I might be small and Kayla might be tall, and yeah, okay, maybe this does look funny to some people, but I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I'm just over the moon, stars, hey, the entire solar system that she's agreed to be my girlfriend again.
Come on, just let us see it for once. Not like it's that good. Ugh, what do these jocks know about art anyway? I quickly stooped down to pick up my precious drawings, and that's when I heard a voice. Oh, do you like anime too? Is this a series Under the Moonlight? OMG, don't tell me you're Otazai. Yeah. Is it really you? I'm Tia. I'm a massive fan of yours. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm meeting you in real life. So, the nerdy guy is me, James, and the cute girl is Tia. This is our first conversation together, the one where she found out I'm Otazai, which is my pen name. Soon after that, Tia became my girlfriend. It was good dating a girl who shared the same interests as me. We could just watch anime together all the time. Just like that, we were immersed in the movie Amagi Brilliant Park. Suddenly, Tia turned to me and asked, James, the school Halloween party's next week, and I have no idea what to go as. Hey, why don't you try dressing up as Latifah Florenza? Tia gave me a skeptical look. No way can an ordinary girl like me pull off dressing up as such a beautiful anime girl. I smiled. Of course you can, don't worry, I'll help you. So we started planning our costumes. I was going to dress up as Gojo and Tia as Latifah Florenza. Exciting, right? We went online to watch tons of anime dream girl makeup tutorial videos and joined cosplay groups to get our costumes. Buying costumes was the easy part. But the anime girl makeup technique was a pretty hard job to do. Big round eyes, unnatural eye color, thick and long eyelashes, pointed chin and a small mouth, etc. Ugh, that was Tia. Bet she just broke another eyebrow pencil in half. This makeup stuff seems stressful, huh? I arrived at the party first and waited outside for Tia. I felt kinda cool in my Gojo costume, and I couldn't wait to see Tia in hers. OMG, is that Tia? She looked even more beautiful than the goddess in the story. I couldn't stop complimenting her kawaii. As we walked inside, everyone was gawping at Tia. I took her hand and I led her into the center. And of course, Tia and I could clearly hear some of them saying, Who's this? Tia? James's girlfriend? And, is that Tia? I can't believe that girl used to sit next to me in class. This was definitely a proud boyfriend moment, especially when she was voted best dressed of the night. Some hot girls dressed as sexy animals even rolled their eyes at her before they walked off in a huff. While Tia jumped up and down in happiness. I'm so happy for my girl. Then on Monday morning, I was walking to class, expecting to meet Tia in the hallway as usual. Only this flamboyant girl with completely pink hair and wearing a Japanese manga schoolgirl outfit was standing in front of Tia's locker. Huh? What? I cleared my throat and said jokingly, Yeah, hi babe, I love your new hair and, your outfit. Really? I'm glad you do. I've decided I'm going to be an anime girl from now on. What? So she was going to look like this all the time? I mean, I like her anime look, but surely it was best saved for a special occasion. While I was standing there unsure of what to say or do, I realized that a crowd had gathered around us. Well, around Tia. The one girl almost knocked me over as she ran over to Tia and asked for a picture with her. Well, I always thought I was the one around here who liked anime. Anyway, seeing Tia happily taking pictures with her admirers was pretty cool. Who wouldn't love having a pretty and famous girlfriend, right? After that, Tia became an internet sensation, and other kids from school seemed jealous that a girl like her was dating a dude like me. These two guys from class even had Tia's picture on their lock screen. Creepy, I know, but that just proved how desperate they were, right? But have you tried going out in public with an anime girl? Well, it takes about 10 times longer than normal to do anything. All these fangirls and some fanboys, appeared out of nowhere and started taking Tia for a chat and pics. She loved it and made a heart hand symbol to them while I stood there like the Invisible Man. To be honest, I gradually realized that having an anime girlfriend was really irritating. Why, you ask? Just be calm, I'll tell you. That morning I had an early math test, so I couldn't be late. But I also had to pick up Tia, and she's nowhere to be seen, so I texted her. "Hurry up, please, my test starts soon." A few minutes later, she huffed away over to me and moaned out, "Ugh, thanks a lot. Now I don't have contact lenses in. Don't you know how important eyes are to an anime girl?" So 0.04 inches of your eye is more important than my test? Seriously, I'm on the verge of failing math class and she's still in a mood with me about her eyes. Then at lunchtime, I noticed that there was something on Tia's lips, so I reached out my hand to wipe it away. "Wait, what are you doing? You're ruining my makeup. I woke up at 6 a.m. to do this." "Babe, you got mustard on your lips." She glared at me, then took out her compact mirror and slowly blotted the stain. So, as you can see, I couldn't even touch her, so of course, she would never allow me to kiss her or something. But honestly, I don't want that makeup to smear all over my face or my lips to turn to coral or purple either. Oh, not to mention how Tia became obsessed with her reflection. It got so bad we could no longer maintain eye contact or hold a proper conversation without her checking herself out every 5 seconds. For my birthday, I took Tia to this cool-looking Japanese restaurant in the city. But it was a full house that night, and we had no choice but to sit by a reflective glass window. Ugh. So, you guessed it right. The entire meal was spent with her checking for her angles in the window and constantly flipping her hair parting or delicately repositioning her fingers to frame her face. I got so irritated that I asked her if I was interrupting something between the both of them, to which she replied that she just wanted to check if her eyes matched her hair color. I was speechless. This was my birthday meal, but she cared more about her own reflection than actually talking to me. At the time, I was really tired of this anime version of Tia. I just wanted to go back to the way it was before, when we watched movies, studied Japanese, and planned to travel to Japan to see the cherry blossoms together. Then an idea popped into my head. "Tia, you want to go camping with me this weekend?" "Where will we go?" "Paradise Campground, provided you don't wear makeup." "Huh? Why? Don't you like my makeup? Don't you think I look pretty like this?" "Babe, you're always the prettiest, but I mean, what if I want to kiss you?" Tia shyly giggled and agreed. Oh yeah, so we're gonna have a weekend together by the woods, and I get to see the same old Tia again. Everything sounded like a good idea, right? But that morning when I arrived to pick her up, she appeared in her full anime look again. Huh? Why are you in makeup? This is an amazing photo opportunity. I need new photos to post on my Instagram. Okay, this really ruined my mood, but instead of arguing, I drove Tia to the campsite. Then you know what? Turns out that weekend was literally just a photo shoot for her. She wanted pictures of everything. It was really too much. We couldn't walk 100 feet without her stopping to ask me to take more pictures of her posing by a tree, a tent, and on one occasion even someone's lost sneaker. Ugh. Then at night, she only wanted to play on her phone, as she had a lot of editing to do. It seemed like everything we did was only for a photo op. This drove me crazy, so I ended up shouting at her. "All you care about is your stupid fans and not me. You're no fun anymore." Then I turned onto my side and sulked like that until I eventually...
It was a Saturday at my environmental club. I saw my friends chatting, so I hurried over to join them. What about Walmart? Walmart? You guys hang out there? Can I come too? I love looking at wall stuff. Huh? Why was everyone gawping at me like an alien? Oh, Walmart! Duh, I was just fooling around. Anyway, you guys go have fun. There. You're probably thinking, has this girl been living under a rock? How can she not know what Walmart is? Well, now I do. Hi, I'm Jasmine, the only child of the biggest hotelier in New York. Growing up rich, I was used to lavish parties and being around wealthy families. That's how I met my girls, Katie and Ashley, daughters of my parents' business partners. I may have lived a privileged lifestyle, but I was actually happiest when I got to work in my art studio. I had an anonymous Tumblr account where I shared some of my finest oil paintings. There, I'd been talking to this one fan for a while, Daniel. He's such a hottie, and he loves art too. But best of all, I just found out we're going to the same high school. Yay! So when the school year started, I asked to meet Daniel in person. Oh, that must be him! I was about to greet him when suddenly a girl appeared. Wow, there sure are a lot of rich girls around here. I swear I saw a few of them ogling you.
Ugh, please. You know how I despise those spoiled princesses the most? I just can't stand being close to them.
Oh no! Daniel hates rich girls? I can't let him see me today. Not like this. So I texted him saying something had come up. Over the next few days, I found out that Daniel was Mr. Cool with all the straight A's, currently the president of the Environmental Club. And he's single. So that's Haley, just a close friend of his. I was determined to conquer Daniel's heart. I just needed to figure out a way to get around his whole anti-wealth thing. Aha! I'd pretend to be some normal girl and join Daniel's environmental club. In the meantime, I'd make him fall for me before telling him the truth about my Tumblr account. Of course, I couldn't let Katie and Ashley know about this either. And here I am, at the environmental club. I immediately approached Daniel with candies, but you know how terrible rappers are for the planet. Besides, Dan doesn't like sweets. At lunchtime, out of habit, I ordered fast food. But as I went to fetch it, I saw everyone gossiping amongst themselves about the terrible person who dared to order food in single-use plastic. Oh, silly me. I totally forgot I was in an environmental club. I quickly lied that I'd already eaten despite my stomach giving out some monster growls. And today's incident was yet another embarrassing moment I created for myself at the club. Oh, Walmart! Duh, I was just fooling around. Anyway, you guys go have fun. There. Learning to be a normal girly is hard, but dealing with my rich friends was even harder. I'd been so busy at the club I totally forgot I still had the recycling bag on me. Not mine. Another time, I nearly got caught while trying to raise funds with other clubmates. I ended up hiding in the restroom for an hour straight. But all the suffering was worth it, as I got to hang around with Daniel. Daniel, I got this for you.
Oh, this is for me? You're a great painter, aren't you? Thanks. By the way, meet Andy. He's in the Eco Bus Stop Poster Design Group, and you're gonna work with him from now on. Not like a rich kid like him needs the bus.
Andy, what are you doing here?
I could say the same about you. My dad just married Daniel's mom, so I'm here to support my new stepbrother.
Ooh, so Andy, whom I met through fancy parties with our parents in the past, was in Daniel's inner circle. This was wonderful news, so I confided in him all about my plan to get with Daniel. So, any chance you could help a girl out?
Sure, I've always wanted Daniel to have a girlfriend anyway. He seriously needs to chill out a bit.
From then on, Andy started teaching me about the ordinary life. One time, he insisted on taking me to the amusement park for the first time. Why do people take the bus anyway? Why don't they just drive a car?
Not everyone can afford a car, Jazz.
So, when will the bus come to pick me up?
The bus doesn't come to you. You have to go to the bus stop.
Huh? A bus stop? What is it?
It's a corner with a bench. You'll see.
The bus was stuffy, and there was a funny smell coming from somewhere behind me. Where's my champagne and hot towels?
Jazz, this is a bus, not a plane. You don't get those things here.
Later, the bus suddenly jolted and I flew forward, but Andy caught me in his arms. I peered up at him and my heart almost skipped a beat. He looked so fine from this angle. Finally, we made it to the amusement park, and it turns out it was so much fun. I went on these twirling teacups until I felt dizzy and threw some balls at a tower of cans. On the way home, Andy insisted on joining this massive line to try some tacos. I'd never waited this long for food before. But oh boy, they were tastier than a Michelin star food! Best of all, Andy also helped me get close to Daniel. Only I got so nervous. The trees are leafy, aren't they? I mean, all trees are leafy. Apart from trees in the winter, as they're not very leafy.
You're just the right combination of cute and awkward.
Holy moly, I thought I was cute. I was ready for my sweet first kiss when Haley butted in and started boring Daniel with talk of some project. Later that day, Haley pulled me into the corner.
Who are you, and why join this club?
I'm just an environmental enthusiast and a nature lover. This girl is everywhere, third-wheeling with me and Daniel. But it's okay, as Andy had invited me to his house to work on a poster for the club. And I mean, I could conveniently bump into Daniel there too. Oh, some of the paintings here were amazing. I didn't realize Andy was an art fan. We discussed some of our favorite artists, and then I showed him my finest paintings on my Tumblr account.
Wow, I can tell you truly have a knack for transitional blending. Actually, I dreamed of becoming an artist, but then Mom left me and Dad to travel the world and fill her own painting dreams. I didn't want to make Dad any sadder than he already was, so I stopped painting.
I told him to pursue his passion no matter what, and invited him to join me in my art studio whenever he wanted. Suddenly, it was so hot in here, I needed a glass of water before I melted. I walked into the kitchen to find Daniel daydreaming out of the window. Hey, is everything alright?
Eco Bus Stop has hit a dead end due to the lack of funding.
I knew I could just give him some of my allowance, but that would mean revealing that I was a rich girl. So I decided to cheer him up by pulling funny faces and said it would all be okay. But then...
You don't understand. I have to make this project successful no matter what. Only then I can get a scholarship into my dream university.
His attitude stunned me. This Daniel was completely different from the fan I talked to. But maybe he was only acting up because Eco Bus Stop means a lot to him. So, the next day, I decided to give Daniel his most wanted gift, an envelope with my monthly allowance. Just as I was about to reach Daniel, Haley stopped me.
I know your secret already, rich girl.
What? No! You must be dreaming stuff up.
Oh, really?
So you don't know these people?
Aren't they the troublemakers from the rich kid clique?
Yeah, they are. Why would I be friends with those spoiled brats? Spoiled brats?
Jazz, how could you say that?
Your whole Save the Trees act didn't work on me. You were acting fake from the start, so I followed you and saw you with your rich friends at the luxury outlet. That's correct. Jasmine Father owns more hotels than your dumb club members' houses combined. I don't know what she's doing here. Next thing I knew, Daniel walked off without saying a word, so I ran after him.
I knew it so well that rich people like you ain't no good. You could have funded the project, or at least helped me ask your father for a loan, but you did nothing. You disgust me.
I only did it because I like you! Right then, Katie and Ashley caught me up. I'm sorry for what I said earlier, girls. It was my fault. I shouldn't have said such nasty things about you guys. I didn't think a noble lady like you would ever lower yourself for a pity boy like him. If you want back in the clique, then cut ties with your low-rent friends. Maybe my club friends were right. We've been so shallow and materialistic. We should change, not them. You! How dare you, Jasmine! Jasmine! So, Daniel didn't want to see my face while Katie kicked me out of the group. For 1 week straight, I shut myself in my room. It was awful, but it did give me time to think more clearly and come to realize I should stop chasing Daniel. Instead, I want to be more active at the environmental club as I truly love contributing to the greater good. So, the next morning, I went to the beach cleanup with the club. Everyone looked so shocked to see me, especially Andy.
You're back! I'm so glad you came. How have you been?
Then we chatted happily while cleaning up the trash with everyone. Only Daniel and Haley were visibly annoyed, but I just couldn't care less. From then on, I was busy helping prepare for the Shark Tank show to raise capital for Eco Bus Stop. One day, Daniel approached me and apologized for overreacting that day. He went on to explain that his mom's been labeled a gold digger ever since she married Andy's dad. He wanted to show that, unlike Andy, who had been born into privilege, he didn't need money, and that he could get a scholarship into his dream college through Eco Bus Stop. Hearing this, I softened and forgave him. After that, we became friends again, and I think he was flirting with me.
Hey, Jazz, you look nice today. You've got such beautiful eyes.
But for some reason, every time I was with him, all I thought about was Andy. Time passed by, then came the Shark Tank qualifying round. The whole club nervously watched Daniel present the project. And guess what? Our project was selected for the final round. Right after that, Daniel followed me outside.
Jasmine, will you be my girlfriend?
I was so confused that I mindlessly nodded, but somehow I didn't feel happy at all. On my first date with Daniel, I found my mind wandering back to Andy. Worse still, I felt like he was avoiding me. A few days later, I threw my 16th birthday. All my friends from the environmental club were there, except for Andy. Later, Daniel went on stage.
Hey everyone, I prepared this special song for my girlfriend Jasmine. You say you're sorry, but it's too late now. So save it, get gone, shut up. 'Cause if you think I care about you now, girl, I don't give a fudge.
Next thing I knew, everyone was gasping and giving me pitiful looks.
So this is for you, Jasmine, you useless, rich, spoiled little brat. Happy birthday, you're dumped.
I froze, but tried to pull myself together. Yes, I'm rich, but never useless and spoiled. People are more than just their social class, you know. Suddenly, I saw a fist flying through the air. It was Andy punching Daniel.
You jerk, you'll pay for this.
Then he leads me away. Andy sat me down on a bench, and I just couldn't stop my tears.
Stop crying already. He doesn't deserve you, he never did.
But I couldn't deal with this right now, so I turned and ran off without uttering a word. After crying myself to sleep that night, I knew the next day I had to be tough, so I returned to the club to get my stuff.
Hey, I'm sorry about what happened last night. I never thought he could do such terrible things to you. And I'm sorry for being harsh on you this whole time. I know now that was wrong of me.
It's okay. I guess it was just my fault from the start. I ignored the fact that we were incompatible just because he was my fan.
Daniel is your fan?
Yeah, from my Min Arts account on Tumblr.
Oh god, that's you? I'm the fan, not Daniel.
Oh, that makes sense. I guess I misunderstood everything all along. But why is there a photo and info of Daniel? Haley admitted to having a crush on Daniel.
But now that I see his true colors, he's just not worth it anymore, you know? I'm gonna leave this club too. It's Daniel who needs to leave. Just wait and see.
Despite still being in a mood, I showed up to Shark Tank's final round to see the project I contributed to. And yes, our Eco Bus Stop project finally got the funding approval, when suddenly,
I'll invest in the project, but I don't want Daniel as my partner. I want it to be Haley, as she's the real mastermind behind this.
all the club members shouted in union to support Haley and boo at Daniel.
What about our deal? You said your father would invest in my project if I dumped Jasmine publicly.
I don't know either. Maybe it's because you really suck. Moments later, Katie's father got between them.
Fortunately, Andy filled me in on Haley's contribution to the project. Otherwise, I would have made a terrible mistake by funding an opportunist instead. As for you, Katie, how could you do that to a friend? You will receive your punishment at home.
After the show ended, I went for a walk with Andy. So, this was your plan all along, huh?
Daniel went too far this time. I need to teach him a lesson, and... Jazz, I've liked you since we first started hanging out, but I stupidly agreed to help you get with Daniel.
This is so sudden. I don't know, Andy.
I promise to take care of you from now on. Please give me a chance.
Andy, actually, I like you too, but my stupid self kept telling me to pursue Daniel, and all this time I've been thinking about you a lot, but I just need some time.
That's all I need to know.
When I was figuring out what to do next, someone passed by. He was tall and handsome, just like a male character walking straight out of a Japanese manga. But why does it have to be in this embarrassing situation?
After what feels like an eternity of bombastic side eyes, he finally got close to me, opened his bag, and pulled out an old pair of shoes. I was dreaming about how he would help me put them on, like in the movies when he coldly tossed the shoes next to me.
That should do.
Then he just left.
Hey, you! Can't you at least help me get out of this?
The guy sighed, then turned around to help me. Do you even know who I am?
Of course I do, Your Highness.
What's with that attitude of yours?
The royal family never cared to visit this poor village. Why is Your Highness troubling herself here?
Is that so? Well, if that's the case, I want you to show me around so I know how my people are doing. Stranger. The guy seemed surprised at my request, but then put on the sweetest smile.
My name's Will, and of course, I can give you a tour.
Holy Mother of God. If his judgy look was enough to make you question your self-worth, his smile could make you feel like you're the luckiest girl in the world.
But before you can wander around, you need to blend in first. People here don't really like the members of the royalty.
Then he gave me some old clothes from his bag.
You can go in there.
What? Do I look like I belong in there?
No one's gonna judge you. Except some chickens, maybe.
Hey, I can behead you in 1 second.
I'm just kidding. You're safe in there.
This was really the middle of the cornfield, so I had to go in and got changed quick. This Will guy's better not be fooling around. And he did not. He walked me around and told me about the lives of the villagers here. I was shocked to see the houses in such poor conditions. How come I only see women and children here? Where are all the men?
Young people, especially men, all went away trying to find jobs. The living conditions here are hard.
I see. But then, who helps take care of the kids and the elderly?
We're all just a big family, so everyone kind of counts on each other to make it through.
And you're the only guy around?
Actually, I was going to leave too, but then I just didn't have the heart to, so I decided to stay here to take care of everyone.
I was shocked to learn about everything. All this time while I was sheltered in my gated castle, attending useless events at the lodge in name of charity. People out here have been struggling. And this guy, Will, has done more for others than I ever did. I was wrong about him. Right then, a piercing voice came shaking the earth beneath my feet. Your Highness! What do you think you're doing? Oh my God, what kind of rags are you dressed in? Are you trying to harm the princess? Guards, restrain him! No, Grace, I'm fine! Look! The guards finally let go of Will. You can't be out here, princess. You have to return to the lodge ASAP before word gets out. Next thing I knew, I was escorted away. Thank you! I'll return the shoes to you! Man, Grace is always a party pooper.
As soon as we got back to the lodge, Grace instantly turned into a talking machine, going on and on about how dangerous it was, how reckless I was. But you know, one of my greatest strengths is selective listening. So I take what she said with a spoon of salt. I mean, a grate of salt.
Everything I just said to you goes in one ear and out the other, doesn't it?
Yep, you got that right. Anyway, I had this idea while cruising around the village. I want to help better the lives of the people there.
What else, princess?
I'm serious. It's like I finally found my life's purpose as a princess all these years.
Just don't get yourself into trouble is all I'm asking for.
You got it. That night, I racked my brain trying to think about how I could help the villagers. Aha! I'll give them the nicest things in the world, just like how the fairy godmother helped Cinderella. So the next day, I ordered my servants to pack boxes of gifts to deliver to Will and the other villagers. If you could have anything from the royal family, what would you want?
I'm so sorry, princess. I don't know what I did wrong. Please don't fire me.
Chill out. You're not fired. Just answer me.
I don't know. Maybe expensive clothes made out of cashmere or mulberry silk would be nice.
Right. Pack all the royal gowns then. From blueberry silk, of course.
Princess, it's mulberry.
Yeah, that. What else? Get all my tiaras too.
But that's your tiaras, princess.
Nah, I never wear them anyway. Oh, don't forget some royal tableware and tea sets too. I want my people to have the most enjoyable dining experience. After having the gifts sent over, I also gave the order to build a tea house in the village where people could read and have a cup of tea together. It feels so nice to finally be able to do some real charity. In the days following, I still had to resume my charity duties at the lodge, namely helping out with the laundry. But of course, it was just for photos. Feeling exhausted, I decided to get a massage with Liam and Grace afterwards. But who knows, it would tickle so much. It's like 1,000 feathers poking at my soles.
Your Highness, are you okay? Looks like you're dying over there.
Help! Help me! Strangely, after the massage disaster, it was like something clicked among the three of us. We would hang out together, and our favorite thing to do was spilling the tea about the royal family. Well, not literally.
The queen mustn't know about this.
Nah, it's fine. The queen always acts tough and strict, but did you guys know that she's actually scared of the microwave?
Your Highness! I heard some other rumors on the streets too. A royal member once snatched a scarf from a woman and never gave it back just because they liked it so much.
Oh, I bet it's Princess Aurora. She's crazy about fashion and all that nonsense. We never get along though. But just when a maid was putting down a spoon next to me, the butler suddenly flew off the handle.
This is the dessert spoon, and that is the teaspoon. How could you not know this?
I'm terribly sorry, Princess. I'll...
It's just a spoon. You're excused. Don't worry about it.
Agreed. We don't care about those stupid rules. Now, if you could leave us alone. They finally left. Ugh. I wonder if these people ever got bored of themselves being boring. Even though I had fun with Grace and Liam for the past couple of days, I've been longing to get out of the lodge again and explore the grounds. So one time, while Grace was back at the palace running some errands, I immediately took my golden opportunity. I was so excited to see how my people were doing with all the nice things I've sent to them. Oh, I bet they're looking as elegant as the royal family now. Maybe they're busy riding the horses I sent. Oh, actually, they might even be having a tea party now. I can't wait to join them. But when I got there, the village looks the same. And is that the sovereign's orb they're playing with? No, that's not a toy, and you're holding it upside down. That's when I turned to see, by the river, the woman pounding on the cloves with golden golf clubs from the late king. Just when I was heading towards them, I caught sight of the tea house, full of pigs, horses, and chickens inside. Did they seriously turn my elegant tea house into a barn? I guess animals are having a grand tea party in there. Right then, some woman passing by noticed me.
Is that the princess? I can't believe she still has the audacity to show up here.
I thought she was different, but she's just like the rest of the royal family. A bunch of useless, ignorant snobs. They don't even know what we need. What's all the use in these luxuries when we can't even afford basic necessities? I felt like reality had smacked me in the face for the first time in my life. Turned out I wasn't helping them at all. Just then, I saw Will nearby. But upon seeing me, he just sighed and turned away to leave. Trust me, all I wanted was to help out, but I just don't know how.
You should just go back to your lodge, princess.
No, let me stay here and live with everyone to understand what my people are going through.
That's not possible. You grew up with abundance and wouldn't last a day here.
That's why I want to learn, so I could really be helpful and give everyone what they need. Please help me, Will. He still seemed hesitant. Just treat me like everyone else here. I promise I'll try my best. Will seemed surprised at how determined I was, and he agreed to give me a chance. I was over the moon and ready to start a new venture. But when I got back to the lodge to pack my things, I was informed that the charity program was over and all of us were to return to the palace the next day. I had to go find Liam. Seeing him reading in the garden, I told him I had some emergency that needed my attention here and asked if he could help cover up for me. I was ready to get on my knees if I needed to when...
Sure thing. Just do whatever you need to.
But aren't you mad? I know I was supposed to be spending time with you just as the queen wanted me to. You know, the marriage and stuff.
Girl, I got your back.
Saying that, he got on the phone with my mom.
Your Majesty, the princess and I are enjoying our time together so much and wish to be allowed to extend our stays here.
And of course, the queen was more than happy to agree. But I knew there was one more obstacle to overcome. Grace. When I told her I needed to live outside the lodge for a while, she immediately opposed the idea. I'm serious, Grace. I know you worry about me, but I am the princess. I'm supposed to help the very people I rule, but I failed to do that so far. And I'm here enjoying my privileges on my people's hard work. What kind of princess am I? Plus, Liam and I don't have feelings for each other anyway. Grace, you gotta help me. After long hours of arguing, Grace finally caved. I was so ecstatic that I jumped over to hug her. Giddy up! Only, life in the village was slightly different from the palace. People here actually grow their own food. Doesn't everyone's food come from the store?
No, we don't have stores here. Everything comes from the ground.
Even my afternoon chocolate shake with 2 pumps of mocha?
Yes, even your chocolate shake with 2 pumps of mocha. In fact, I bet it's even better. I'll make one for you later.
Just then, I saw Miss Estelle struggling to pluck up the carrots, so I came over to help her. Don't you worry, I got this. But, who knew the carrot was holding on to dear ground? Just when I was about to give up, it suddenly came off the ground and ended up flying straight over my head, hitting, well...
Maybe it's better you go feed the chicken.
But when I approached the chicken, I saw an egg on the ground, so I picked it up. The chicken suddenly turned to look at me as if they all spotted their sworn enemy. All that was left to do was run! Not until Will came in and saved the day did all the chickens calm themselves down. You seem to know a lot about life here.
Of course, I've lived here since the day I was born, though I don't really know who my parents are.
Where are your parents?
I'm actually an orphan, being brought up by the people here. They didn't have much, but were raising me with all their hearts. That's why I want to stay here and take care of them now that they're getting older.
I was touched by his story and realized how nice people could be to each other, against all odds.
Let's go fix the roofs. The storm's coming.
Is there something you can't do, Mr. Know-It-All?
Well, actually, yes. I've been living here for so long, I don't know how to impress a girl.
Who are you kidding? I bet girls are dying to sweep you off your feet already.
Are you?
For a second, I found myself lost in the dreamy haze of his eyes. No, Mia, you're here to help others, not to fool around. Come on, let's go fix the roofs. Later that day, Will led me to the garden and showed me the traditional way of making chocolate.
And just like this, you keep grinding until it becomes a thick paste.
I got to try it with Will holding my hand. The two of us were so close together. I could hear my heart pounding against my chest. Is this the rush they all talked about in the fairy tales? When we finished, Will made a fresh batch of hot chocolate and gave me one. When I took a sip, a rich, nutty, and earthy flavor instantly warmed me up inside. Will was right. This is better than any Starbucks I ever had. The following days were the most fun I've had in my entire life. I still found it hard to navigate through the hardships here, but Will was always by my side. And the people here, once I got to know them better, they all started to warm up to me too. Every Friday, the whole village would gather around a bonfire to tell each other the oldest tales.
Enough with the nightingale. I want to know when we'll hear the happy ending for the tale of Mir and Will.
We all know the happy ending is as clear as day already. I found my cheeks warming up to the jokes. I wondered what was on his mind as I caught Will blushing also. Everything was like a dream, until one morning Will and the other villagers had to go harvest the crop, and I stayed home to help with some chores. While I was hanging the clothes, I got all shook up by a familiar voice.
What do you think you're doing, Mia?
I was taking Mom to the hospital when noticed the nurse was trying to hurt her. Excuse me, miss. You're making a mistake. That syringe should go into the brachial artery. You're in the wrong location, and that's dangerous.
Are you trying to tell me that I don't know how to do my job? I have been doing this job longer than you have been alive.
No, you're going to hurt my mother.
Bummy, be quiet. Stop disrespecting and let the nurse do her job.
No, don't touch her.
What is going on here?
Your nurse got the location of the brachial artery wrong, and I was trying to correct her, but she wouldn't listen.
I'm sorry, she reads a lot of books and she is convinced she knows as much as a doctor. But she is correct, the nurse is wrong. Ma'am, your daughter just saved your life.
Hello, my name is Bummy from Nigeria, and I am just 15, but I'm already the world's youngest doctor. And today, I will tell you about my crazy adventure. Before that, please like and subscribe. It all started when I was little. My mom used to take me to the library where she worked and leave me to wander around. That's when I found my interest in medicine. By the time I was 6, I knew everything about the human body. But it only started to bloom when I met Dr. Jeff the other day. He told me I had a photographic memory and encouraged me to pursue medicine. While my classmates struggled to understand fractions, I had already figured out algebraic equations. School became boring, so after school, every day, I would go to Dr. Jeff's hospital, and he would let me observe everything and instructed me to perform some procedures from simple to more complex.
Bummy, you've learned too fast. I hope someday you have a chance to spread your wings further, 'cause soon I'll have nothing else to teach you.
Then, one day, I was sitting on the porch to finish my medical illustration when I noticed a group of foreigners approaching. Turns out they are American aid workers who would be staying in our neighborhood for a while with some humanitarian projects. Days after, they were carrying out an immunization exercise. Everything was going great when suddenly one of them fell to the ground. I ran to the scene as fast as I could to see him choking. Blood was nearly drained from his face. Without thinking further, I ran back into my house and grabbed my aid kit, but was blocked by some woman.
Kid, go play somewhere else. Don't take up oxygen here. Someone's choking.
Do you want me to help your friend or not? Upon that, I immediately dunked the Swiss knife in alcohol to sterilize them, made an incision, and then placed the straw as a temporary breathing tube. The man who was almost turning blue took his first breath. Let's get him to the hospital. It's not far from here. I called Dr. Jeff to inform his situation, and a few days later, the man finally woke up. That night, someone knocked on my door, and I was surprised to see the woman that day.
Hello, I'm Carol. Sorry to disturb you, but I came to talk about your daughter. I have traveled far and wide, but in my life, I have never met a genius like her. I think that an American education will do so much for her. America? My sweet child was fine here. No offense, though, but I'm afraid a life here is not the ideal environment for her to develop. But America will. We can get her into a gifted program and make sure she reaches her full potential. But who is going to take care of her? She would live with me. I promise I would take care of her like my own daughter. And the next time you see Bummy, she will have become the extraordinary doctor she was meant to be. What do you say, baby? I didn't like the idea of leaving my mom alone here, but that's when what Dr. Jaff said earlier echoed in my mind. Right, that might be a chance that he meant. Mom, I want to go. The goodbyes were quick, and I was on the plane heading to California with an eager heart toward the new land of dreams ahead. Welcome to America. Please feel at home. Oh God, my phone has been buzzing since they talked about you on Facebook. Hang on, I need to take this call. You must be Bummy, right? So you're the girl our mom can't shut up about. Hi, nice to meet you. Are not welcome here. What? Oh, great. You have met my kids, Camille and Ted. Welcome home, Mom. I made dinner. I hoped we could sit and you can tell us all about your Oh, not today, sweet pea. A show wants an exclusive on you right now, Bummy. Now? But that means people are super excited about you. Come on, let's go. Then Carol took me somewhere else with a bunch of strangers holding some kind of lights that blinded my eyes. Suddenly, a man walked toward me. You're Bummy, right? Hi, I'm Martin. Can we start now? Start what? Without letting me catch up on what's going on, Carol already had me chained into stiff clothes and pushed me into a chair opposite the man. Good morning, everyone. Our show today has a special guest, Bummy Alana, the youngest doctor from Nigeria. Or maybe the world. Bummy, why don't you start by telling us your first case? Hi. When I was 6, my friend was choking on a bone, so I performed the Heimlich maneuver, as I read it in a book before. And the show continued with loads of questions about me. I answered them all, but to be honest, I don't know why I was doing what here. I felt such a relief when it ended. But the next morning... Oh, there you are. Rise and shine, my little genius. We have a busy day today. I laid out your clothes, so get ready. We leave in 1 hour.
I thought it was a one-time thing. It rather turned into my daily routine. I would be in a show after a show, sitting in front of cameras answering ridiculous questions. I felt like I was making a fool of myself. Carol, I'm tired of the cameras and the interviews. I came here to learn. Oh, darling, we want the same thing. A medical university you need to be at is expensive, and these interviews would help us get a sponsor soon, I believe. In the meantime, just focus on that and your study at school, okay? Yeah, I had to enroll at a public high school with her children. But high school here was weird. In Nigeria, I was supposed to be entering 11th grade. But now in America, I had to enroll in the 9th. It's like I was left behind. Not just that, Camille, Carol's daughter, seemed to not like me and was determined to make my life a living hell. She usually hid my textbooks or my shoes before school, making me search everywhere, and I ended up being late for school almost every day.
Bummy, I don't think you appeared on TV shows that you can discard school regulations.
Ugh, it's her, not me. And everything got worse. The people at school continued to undermine me and act like I was a dummy. Excuse me, sir, I got a C- even though I got all the questions right.
Well, you didn't use the words from the textbook like I asked.
But I'm correct. Shouldn't I be allowed to express my answers in my own words?
Not in my class.
Genius, they say. That day after school, I was home to find all of my clothes all torn apart. That's when I saw Camille smirk. You ruined my clothes! Next time, your clothes won't be the only damaged things if you stay here. Okay, fine. That's the last straw. It's time to teach her that I'm not an easy prey for her. I snuck into her room to mess with her makeup products. Ha! Let's see how you can decorate your face to school. But on the way out, I noticed her iPad. Wow, she had a channel herself. And what's this? Was it Carol and her children? What are you doing here? Startled, I accidentally dropped the sculpture on the floor. Oh God, my sculpture! Do you know what it is? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You're not making my life miserable enough? Then out of nowhere, Carol barged in. What are you doing? You silly child! Apologize to Bummy right now or you are grounded. Carol, no, it's my fault. She didn't. I'm sorry, Bummy. Then she ran out of her room, hands holding her face. I thought I saw her tears streaming down. What happened yesterday kept me tossing and turning the whole night. It's true Camille wasn't the most pleasant person, but Carol shouldn't have done that to her.
Bummy, I bet you haven't seen those tools in your hometown before, right? Haven't you? So you're not ready to dissect a rat yet. Just watch others first.
Whatever. I came here for new challenges, but all I got was mocking and belittling.
Hey, are you alright?
I raised my head to see Ted.
Is this because of the biology class?
Nah, I couldn't care less about them.
They just can't accept a new kid more brilliant than they are. If it's not, so what troubles you?
Why your sister hates me so much?
She doesn't. She hates that you are everything she is not. Do you know that this is the longest time our mother has been around us since our father left? But in fact, she wasn't here for us.
Then he told us how Carol was always traveling, leaving him and Camille alone, and it surely caused a deep hole in her children, especially Camille. That's why she acted like that to me.
Actually, that sculpture was the one Mom brought us when she went to Disneyland years ago. Camille treasured it the most.
My heart broke for them, for Camille. I understood her pain, and deep down I know I needed to do something to help fix this relationship. I came up with the idea of inviting Ted and Camille to go along with me to our shows, so that they could spend more time with their mother. Seeing them happy together, it warmed my heart to know family will always be family, no matter what. Soon Ted and I became closer. I didn't know he had quite a craftsmanship with his sculptures. And you know what? Recently Camille seemed to be super nice towards me. We might make good friends in the near future, right? Then, one night, while we were having dinner, Carol broke an exciting news to me.
Bummy, congratulations! Some sponsor sent your application to a top medical school! Good job, Bummy! I haven't been this proud before, my child!
Finally, I was a step closer to my dream! A few days later, I was preparing for my interview when I heard Carol screamed. What's wrong?
You got a C- in biology? Someone mailed the sponsor a copy of your test, and now they are uninterested. They don't believe that you're a genius with this low score. Oh, my hard work is gone. Who did this?
Ted and I looked at Camille at the same time. She was biting her nails nervously and sweating. So Camille did it to me? After everything happened?
Camille, why?
Cause Mom always loved her than us.
What?
It's okay. It's good that it happened. I was going to reject it anyway.
What?
I'm very thankful for your kindness all this time, but I couldn't live on your help any longer. But Carol, there's a bigger problem here. You have been so buried in what could happen in the future to other kids, while you have ignored the present. You've ignored your kids. You have been looking in the wrong places for extraordinary kids. Did you know Camille has a YouTube channel with over 10,000 followers? Did you know that Ted is incredible with woodwork? He has a sculpture of you that he carries around, hoping for a day he can give it to you. They need you, really need you, more than me or any kids need you.
So where would you go?
I just got admitted into a special program at the Johns Hopkins University. I was going to tell you tonight. Actually, I was preparing for the interview with them.
Oh my, you're stronger than I thought. Can I see it? The sculpture of me, I mean. It's so beautiful. I'm so sorry, guys. I wanted to be someone significant. I wanted to be a big deal, but there is no bigger deal than being your mom. I'm sorry. I'm going to make it up to you.
Bummy, I'm so sorry. I was angry and didn't think enough. I am so sorry. And thank you for everything you did to us. I know it's hard for you to forgive me, but I forgive you. The car was eerily silent as the taxi drove me to the interview. I read my acceptance letter over and over during the trip. I earned it by my hard work, and I was determined to reach my dreams by my own effort. Finally, I could come to the place where people saw my true potential and attempted to help me reach my fullest. And here I was, ready to hold my dream medical degree.
Our school has never witnessed a prodigious student like Bummy Alana. Only in 1 year, she has not only finished her course, but also contributed greatly to endoscopy surgery of the U.S. with her new discovery.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. First, I couldn't find enough words to tell how glad I am for all the opportunities America has given me. The dean offered me a position here at the university. I am grateful, but I had to reject it. The woman who first took me to America thought she was saving me, but she never realized I was where I needed to be. My home, where I was much needed than here. So, I'm going back home to my family in Nigeria, and I hope to use all my knowledge to help my community. But whenever American needs me, I'll always be here to offer my humble help. Here they are. Carol, Ted, and Camille were also here to celebrate with me. They were all sad to know I was not staying here, but life is always open for a reunion, right? And finally, I was home, with Mom and Dr. Jeff. One day, I was checking the new pack of medical equipment sent from America, when I saw a sculpture of me.
You sent for me?
I didn't think you would make it.
As long as it's you, nothing's impossible. Oh, wait. Hey guys! Hi, Bummy! Welcome to your mother-daughter channel. My name is Carol, and this is my extraordinary daughter, Camille. They send their regards.